Hello and welcome. Tonight, Abia State Governor Alex Otti orders immediate demolition of a bungalow in Osisioma local government area of the state where kidnappers allegedly keep their victims. 1 year after the brutal killing of the soldiers in Okwama, Delta State, residents call on the federal government to rebuild the infrastructure in their communities, which was destroyed in the aftermath of the attack. Anambra State Governor Chukwuma Soludo promises to deliver more dividend of democracy to the people as he marks 3 years in office. And death toll from North Macedonia nightclub fire rises to 59, with more than 155 people injured. We begin tonight in Abia State, where the governor, Alex Otti, has ordered the destruction of a hideout in Osisioma local government area of the state, allegedly used by criminals to perpetrate their nefarious activities. The governor gave the order at a press conference following a successful security operation by the police, where 6 suspected kidnappers were gunned down and 4 abducted men were freed unhurt. Governor Otti ordered the immediate demolition of the bungalow where the victims were held and instructed that the landlord of that property be prosecuted for his role in the crime.
I'm already told the city will continue to do everything possible to keep the state safe. And thank God that they are also very willing and able to use technology, which has helped and forcing power and order ahead. We'll continue to operate the technology. I'm sure in the distant future we'll have a command and control center here in the state capital. We're already far along in the discussion. I had instructed earlier today that the house, the bungalow in Osokwa in Osisioma, in our local government area, where the kidnappers operated from and kept the kidnapped victims should be brought down completely.
Presenting the rescued victims and the tactical team members of the Nigeria Police to the governor, the State Commissioner of Police, Danladi Issa, detailed the swift tactical intervention that led to the successful rescue of the 4 kidnapped individuals.
My tactical teams were seriously under a very heavy gunfire. In the exchange of fire that ensued, 6 of the kidnappers were neutralized. Some escaped with bullet injuries. 2 AK-47 were recovered. 6 magazines were also recovered. 32 rounds of ammunition were also recovered. We have made a series of achievements in recent times, but for this one, we deemed it necessary for His Excellency to at least know that your officers are not resting on their oars.
Staying with security matters, but this time in Enugu State, where the governor, Peter Mba, has commended the Department of State Services, the DSS, whose operatives already arrested 5 suspected high-profile kidnappers operating in forests across the state. Acting on credible intelligence, DSS operatives on Wednesday traced the suspects to their hideouts in 2 separate locations in Enugu State. They're believed to be part of a gang that was terrorizing Udi local government area and other parts of Enugu State. Among items recovered from the suspects are large sums of money suspected to be part of proceeds of the illicit activities, lethal weapons and other dangerous objects. Governor Mba says that the DSS, in conjunction with the military, the police and other security agencies, as well as the state-owned forest guards, have been put in place, and measures have already been put in place for continuous crackdown on other fleeing gang members, as well as raid on their hideouts and camps in the forests. Operatives of the Abia and Nasarawa State Police Command have successfully executed operations that resulted in the rescue of kidnapped victims, the neutralization of notorious criminals, and of course the recovery of firearms and ammunition. The statement signed by the Force Public Relations Officer, ACP Olumuyiwa Adejobi, says the 9th of March 2025, the Abia State Police Command received reports of the 4 individuals kidnapped, as we told you earlier. The statement adds that in another development, the Nasarawa State Police Command, in collaboration with the Nigerian Army and local vigilante groups, equally neutralized a notorious kidnapper known as Abdullahi alias Anna during a joint operation on security in Akwanga on March the 14th this year. The statement further adds that the suspect, who had been on the wanted list for multiple offenses, was intercepted near Akwanga Central Mosque while attempting to evade arrest on a motorcycle. 1 year after the brutal killing of 17 military personnel in Okwama, Delta State, it's a sober anniversary in that community. Residents are marking the brutal killing where a peacekeeping mission has been held. They pay tribute to their fallen leaders, including the late President General James Okoroko, and asking for the release of detained community members. But amidst the remembrance, there is a desperate plea for basic needs.
It has been exactly 1 year since the tragic incident that turned the once thriving riverine community of Okwama into a shadow of its former self. The Okwama community became the scene of a military occupation after the brutal killing of 17 soldiers. Reports detail widespread destruction, with homes and businesses burned, leaving only the church building intact. Following this, several people were declared wanted and arrested, including the traditional ruler of Ewu Kingdom. In the immediate aftermath, Delta State Governor Sheriff Aboyewori appealed to the military for a withdrawal from Okwama. Following the military's departure, the governor visited the community to personally assess the extent of the reported damage. Days after his visit, the governor convened a meeting with traditional rulers from across Delta State. He briefed them on the situation and outlined the ongoing efforts to restore peace and calm to the affected area.
We want them to maintain peace. He signed this accord out of Senate. But note to us that this attack on the 4 army officers and 30 soldiers, the 14th of this month, came as a result to us.
To address the immediate needs of displaced residents, the governor established an internally displaced persons camp. This provided temporary accommodation before their eventual return to the devastated community. A year on, the 4 community leaders are still detained. The people are urgently appealing to the federal government for their freedom.
We need the federal government to come to our rescue. Let those our leaders to be released to us, because we are not here for fight. We don't expect anything to even happen that last year. But as it happened, it destroyed the community to this level. So now we need the government to come into our rescue. Let our leaders be released. Let this Okwama be rebuilt again so that everybody has seen they can have a place to stay again.
Adding to their suffering, the people are facing a critical shortage of basic amenities, a stark reminder of the destruction their community endured.
If rain fall now, so we just stay. Mosquito won't keep people for here. Suffer day, they suffer.
They suffer. Our children not they go to school. To shop self, they had us.
The senator representing Delta Central Senatorial District, Senator Ede Dafinone, also lent his voice to the call for justice. In a press statement released on the first anniversary of the tragedy, Senator Dafinone urged the federal government and the Nigerian Army to either unconditionally release the detained suspects who have been held without trial for over 7 months or allow them to be tried in an open court. Okwama remains a community in pain, but residents are hopeful that government intervention will lead to justice. Only then can they begin to rebuild their shattered lives and find a path forward.
From Delta State to Anambra State, where the state approaches 3-year mark of Governor Chukwuma Soludo's administration, and that will happen on March the 17th this year. The governor is reaffirming his commitment to fostering unity with a vision of creating one Anambra, one people, and one agenda, driven by empathy and compassion. Speaking at the Thanksgiving service held at St. Patrick's Cathedral in Awka, Governor Soludo emphasizes Anambra's ongoing rise as a beacon for the nation in sectors like health, education, agriculture, technology, and security.
Parishioners, dignitaries are here to celebrate with the governor of Anambra State, Professor Chukwuma Soludo, as he marks his 3rd anniversary in office. The governor, accompanied by his wife Noye and their first daughter Adaora, expresses joy as he felicitates with hundreds of people who come to honor him with their presence.
I welcome everybody.
The service, officiated by the Bishop of Ekulobia Diocese alongside the bishops of Awka and Inewi Diocese, saw the first Bible reading taken by the Deputy Governor, Dr. Oyinkachuku Ibezim, while the second is taken by the governor's wife, Mrs. Noye Soludo.
God brought Abraham outside and said, "Look towards heaven and number the stars, if you're able to number them." Then he said to him, "So shall your descendants be."
Their God is the belly, and they glory in their shame, with minds set on earthly things. But our commonwealth is in heaven.
Delivering the homily, the Bishop of the Catholic Diocese of Sokoto, Most Reverend Matthew Kuka, draws attention to the fact that taking up a public service job is a contract with God and the people, and therefore no excuses.
Being a governor is a contract. Being a senator is a contract. Being a civil servant, every public office you hold, being a bishop is a contract. And I think, our brother, Professor Charles Soludo, he and I have come a very long way. But he has no excuse, because God's judgment on you will be pretty tough.
Governor Chukwuma Soludo, his family, and members of the State Executive Council come with gifts of thanksgiving.
As we say, it can only be God. And so we say, all glory, adoration, thanksgiving belongs to him and him alone, in Jesus' name. When we were applying or having interviews for this job, we presented our manifesto, our contract within the Anambra. Based on those, you employed us. Looking at the speech that we made on that particular day and evaluating how far we have come, so far, so good.
As the Thanksgiving service comes to an end, the governor is thankful for the journey so far and hopeful for a more rewarding future for the people of Anambra State.
In part 2, after the break, Amnesty International Nigeria condemns threats to National Youth Service Corps member for criticizing the administration of President Bola Tinubu. Please join us again. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, broadcasting live from Lagos. A reminder of our main stories. Abia State Governor Alex Oti orders immediate demolition of a bungalow in Osisioma local government area where kidnappers allegedly keep their victims. 1 year after the brutal killing of soldiers in Okwama, Delta State, residents are calling on the federal government to rebuild the infrastructure in their communities, which was destroyed in the aftermath of that attack. Anambra State Governor Chukwuma Soludo promises to deliver more dividend of democracy to the people as he marks 3 years in office. And death toll from North Macedonia nightclub fire rises to 59, with more than 155 people injured. Human rights campaign organization Amnesty International is asking the federal government to cease its threats against individuals and groups who voice criticism of the current administration. The organization condemned the alleged intimidation faced by Lagos-based National Youth Service Corps member Ms. Ogoni following her viral TikTok video criticizing President Tinubu's government for the economic hardships affecting Nigerians. The Human Rights Watchdog highlighted the reported threats from NYSC officials, affirming that Ms. Ogoni is exercising her right to express her concerns about the nation's deteriorating economic conditions. Ms. Ogoni, has claimed that after her video gained traction, she began receiving threats from individuals believed to be affiliated with the NYSC, asking her to remove the post. She has expressed fear for her personal safety, revealing that her private information was leaked and that she's being pressured to report to the NYSC office. International trade is the backbone of the global economy, facilitating the exchange of goods, services, and ideas across borders. The world is now grappling with what some people have called the deadliest trade tariff war of the 21st century. But how will the potential breakdown of bilateral and multilateral trade pacts affect Nigeria and indeed Africa? Babajide Ogunsanwo, founder of Leadership by Data and Channels Television's data analyst, is here to share more intelligence about the state of world trade. Thank you very much, Babajide, for joining us on the news at 10.
Good evening, Anne.
Well, they say charity begins at home. So let's talk about how Africa will be affected with this tariff war, the new trade tariffs, and planned by President Donald Trump of the United States.
Clearly, President Donald Trump is taking some big actions. We're seeing reactions as well. But for Africa, there's some good and bad news. Now, the good news is, if we look at the tariffs, it will have very little impact on us directly. The bad news is it will affect us indirectly. And by indirectly, we're talking about the currency volatility. Yes, that could affect us indirectly. We're looking at even the global perception of democracy is changing. That's between the left-wing politicians and partisan politics and the right wing, which Donald Trump also clearly belongs to. But what Nigerians are really asking and what we should probably focus on is the good news, which is why I talk about, yes, this might actually not significantly affect Nigeria and Africa. So let's take a look at how much trade does Nigeria do with the United States, with Africa, with clearly even other countries in the world. In summary terms, where is Africa's position? You said it, charity begins at home. And if we focus on the chart of the week, what exactly is in front of us? The World Bank makes it clear. Between the first 10 years of the 21st century, between 2000 and 2009, global trade was the equivalent of $205 trillion. However, Africa only accounted for 3% of that trade. Look at the next decade, between 2010 to 2019, $359 trillion worth of global trade. Again, how much did Africa account for? Only 3%. Look at what happened in this decade, from 2020 to date. Global trade in excess of $179 trillion. However, Africa only 3%. In simple terms, 97% of the world's trade does not happen in Africa. But here's why African leaders need to really understand this beyond trade. 19% of the world's population, 19%, that's approximately 20% of the world's population, lives in Africa. Yet, only 3% of the trade is done in Africa, clearly showing that human potential is significantly suboptimal. So yes, the tariffs we've clearly seen would directly not significantly affect Africa and indeed Nigeria because we're not really doing much trade. However, what it points us is to remember that yes, we're only doing 3% of global trade. However, approximately 20% of the population resides here. A reminder that we are significantly sub-optimizing our human potential.
So which brings me to my next question. I mean, how exposed is Nigeria? If we say 3%, that's a good number.
That's a bad number.
A bad number, I beg your pardon. But how exposed is Nigeria to goods and services that will be affected by these tariff trade?
So there are various ways to look at it. First, I talked about we will be impacted indirectly, especially because of exchange rate volatility, looking at also the global perception of democracy, how it influences it. But the question is, how much imports came into Nigeria, especially if you take a look at it from the last 3 years. The National Bureau of Statistics tells us that Nigeria imported 84 trillion naira worth of goods between 2021 and 2023. The challenge is, where are these goods coming from? And if we take a look at these facts, the facts, it will clearly allow us to understand that, yes, we shouldn't be bothered, but here are the reasons why we should be bothered. 84 trillion naira worth of goods in the last 3 years, 2021 to 2023. However, half of Nigeria's imports do not come from America, neither do they come from Europe. And in the last 3 years, half of all goods imported into Nigeria came from Asia. So in simple terms, when we're talking about our exposure to these global tariffs, we should look at our exposure to what we're importing, and the evidence shows that significantly more of what we're importing is from Asia and not Europe or America.
But could all these significantly contribute to the living conditions of people living in Nigeria, especially now that everyone is complaining about the economy?
Yes, it could. And again, follow this logic. We're looking at a lot of goods coming in from Asia. The question is, where in Asia are these goods coming from? The number one country is China. And so the question is, what exactly are we importing from China? And if we take a look at the facts, it is clear. The National Bureau of Statistics has put up some data together, and they make it clear that the number one good, or the number one category of items Nigerians are importing from Asia is manufactured goods. So in simple terms, if inflation rate is going higher in China, or if the cost of manufacturing is going higher because of these trade wars, clearly what these companies will be producing, their costs will rise, and some of these costs will be transferred will reflect in their product prices, and clearly potentially more manufactured goods coming into Nigeria from China will have higher cost. Higher cost clearly means those that are importing it, especially for non-personal household consumption, will transfer this cost to businesses. In simple terms,
the end users are still going to suffer.
The end users are going to suffer it. Businesses will suffer it. The end users will suffer it. And if businesses and end users suffer it,
that's everyone.
Politics will suffer it, and we'll be talking about the cost of winning an election. Again, looking at how tariffs goes around and even influences election. But perhaps the biggest insight tonight is for us to remember that Africa still accounts for only 3% of the world's trade, yet approximately 20% of the population. We need to significantly improve our expertise and get the younger Nigerians to participate in trade and services to be able to grow the economy and the country.
All right. Thank you very much. Babajide Ogunsanwo, founder of Leadership by Data and Channels Television's data analyst. Thanks a lot for your time.
The pleasure is always mine.
On the news at 10, I do. The Hydrocarbon Pollution Remediation Project, HYPREP, says that it is committed to implementing recommendations for environmental restoration in Ogoni land, including the establishment of a Center of Excellence. HYPREP coordinator, Professor Neni Brani Zabi, made this commitment during the presentation of the Technical Planning Committee's report in Port Harcourt, the River State capital. Our correspondent, Deborah Agbalama, reports.
In May 2024, a technical committee comprising experts in academia and environmental matters was set up to oversee the smooth takeoff of the Center of Excellence for Environmental Restoration here in Wiakarakana local government area of River State. The 13-member technical planning committee, headed by Professor Dom Baridam, former Vice-Chancellor, University of Port Harcourt, is now here at HYPREP's office to officially hand over their report after months of meticulous deliberation.
This means a cleaner environment, improved public health, and opportunities for economic empowerment through skills training and employment. Nationally, the center will position Nigeria as a leader in environmental remediation and restoration, fostering innovation and best practices in pollution management.
To bolster its research capacity, HYPREP has announced plans to expand the center's laboratories, adding biotechnology research.
We are glad to note that the report includes the administrative structure, the framework programs, and activities at the center, staffing and recruitment strategy, research, internationalization, and sustainability strategy. And importantly, the advisory document on the legal framework, which is the bill for the establishment of the center.
Some of the committee members threw more light on the details contained in the report.
Today is very historic, and with the presentation of this report, we hope that the Center of Excellence is going to be operationalized. And once that happens, this is a first of its kind in Nigeria, and I'm sure outside the country.
The committee made one very key recommendation, that we will not have to wait for a bill or a law to move the center to go, but that a directorate should be quickly, set up so that it can go. As it is, the center is ready and can function as an international institution for research.
With construction exceeding 80% completion, HYPREP says the Center of Excellence for Environmental Restoration, CER, is poised to become a vital hub for research and policy development. The body overseeing Ogoni lands restoration is now urging the Governing Council to accelerate the process of making the center fully operational. Deborah Abalama, Channels Television News.
Still ahead on the news at 10, Governor Obasani of Kaduna State declares state of emergency in the water sector as part of efforts to tackle water scarcity in the state. Please stay with us. Welcome back. Let's head to Kaduna State now, where the Governor Obasani has declared a state of emergency in the water sector as part of efforts aimed at tackling headlong the perennial problem of water scarcity in Kaduna Metropolis, Zaria, southern Kaduna, and other parts of the state. The governor, who announced this when he inspected water treatment plants in Kakuri, in Kaduna South local government area and Zaria local government areas, says that his administration has been able to increase water production rate from a paltry 5% to over 25%, with a target to reach 100% water production by the end of 2025.
For over a decade, residents of Kaduna State have suffered from the challenge of water scarcity, especially in the metropolitan areas of Kaduna City, Zaria, and Kafanchan, despite the huge resources spent by previous administrations on water projects. To ensure speedy rehabilitation of the facilities, Governor Obasani takes a tour of the Kakuri water treatment plant in Kaduna South local government area. The plant is among many other water facilities which have suffered age-long neglect under past administrations.
We are retrofitting almost all the 23 local government small water supply schemes in all the 23 local governments. And in each of the ward where we're trying to see those that we have, we make sure that we retrofit them. Then those that are not existing, we see how we can improve and make them available in most of those areas.
From what you said, the entire project will be finished before the end of this year. Before this year, we should be able to have 100% water supply in Kaduna State.
The governor also inspects the ongoing rehabilitation and retrofitting work at the 150 million and 10 million liters daily water treatment plants in Zaria local government area. although a total of $101 million obtained from the African Development Bank was spent on the water project by the last administration without improving access to sustainable potable water supply to Zaria and its environs. The Managing Director of Kaduna State Water Corporation provides insight into the challenges faced by the facility.
These pipelines are affected all over Zaria City. Yes, we will be able to, we have stepped up production to 25% to 30% in the water treatment plant. But if we send water into town, you see leakage everywhere. It's the same thing in Kaduna, it's the same thing in Kafancha. Wherever these roads were carried out, they were done without proper technical consultation and design. There were no consideration.
The governor, however, expresses disappointment over the deteriorating condition of the facilities at the Zaria water treatment plant, despite the huge amount spent by the last administration.
For me, when we came, we believed that it was unacceptable, and that was the reason why we declared this of emergency. And today I'm happy our effort we've seen the result of our effort. And as a government, we believe our major responsibility is to ensure that our people live and have affordable things like water and other things we are focusing here in Kaduna State.
At the end of the tour, Governor Basani gives the assurance that dry taps will come back to life again in order to improve access to sustainable potable water for all the 23 local government areas of the state.
The federal government has reaffirmed its commitment to completing the ongoing construction of the dual carriageway on Zaria-Gusau-Sokoto Road within the stipulated 48-month time frame to enhance travel efficiency for Nigerians. Minister of State for Works, Barrister Bello Goronyo, gave this assurance while inspecting the ongoing construction of road projects from Sokoto to Gusau-Funtua Highway.
The Zaria-Gusau-Sokoto dual carriageway connects Zamfara State to Sokoto and neighboring states. The road project, which has suffered delays in the past due to funding constraints and security challenges, is expected to facilitate trade, ease transportation, and enhance security when completed. To ensure quality of the work being done, the Minister of State for Works is conducting an on-the-spot assessment of the project. He expresses satisfaction with the quality and pace of work done so far, as he urges the contractors to maintain momentum to meet the deadline.
Mr. President is very passionate about this road because it's linking about 5 to 6 states, including Kaduna, Katsina, Zamfara, Sokoto, and Kebbi. Even part of Katsina, and Kano, of course, because this is a link road. And then you can agree also with me that this is northwest. And Mr. President is the president of Nigeria, and is not a regional president. He's giving priority attention to each zone of this country. You can see how we are crisscrossing the road arteries of this nation.
However, the contractor is faced with some challenges.
We are expecting if there is enough funding and there is no oncoming reasons, we are going to finish the project within the completion period, which is 48 months.
While assuring of efforts to tackle the challenges, the Minister of State for Works notes that infrastructure development aligns with President Bola Tinubu's broader economic growth agenda aimed at boosting commerce, transportation, and security in northern Nigeria.
In a bid to provide affordable food for Nigerians and ensure farmers are protected, the federal government is considering a national policy on agricultural price stabilization. The Minister of State for Agriculture and Food Security, Senator Aliyu Abdullahi, disclosed this while speaking exclusively with Channels Television. The minister says that farmers deserve to make an earning from their efforts, and the ministry is already looking at all the technicalities around this policy.
The president said it again, that as far as Nigeria is concerned, it is time to govern Nigeria. It is time to provide leadership so that we can solve the common problem of Nigeria irrespective of our various sentiments, whether political, religious, tribal, regional. is immaterial. What is important is let's put Nigeria first, let's put our patriotism first, and let's work for the common good of this country. Nigerians deserve to have food, and we are working hard to make sure this food is provided, but we're also making sure to ensure that it is affordable. And I think I would like to speak to this. One thing is certain, we are currently in the works looking at a national policy on agricultural price stabilization to ensure, like the president has always said, let's protect our farmers. Okay? Because when you ask a farmer to produce, he has to make some earnings out of what he has produced. But then, you will not want a situation where the prices now get over the top and consumers are not able to. So that balance is critical. And I want to assure Nigerians that the president is working very hard on this. He's very deeply concerned. And we in the ministry are looking at all the technicalities around this policy matter, together with the coordinating minister of the economy, our brother Ebo Wale Edu, to make sure that we have a policy that speaks to it. We are working very hard on this.
To catch the full interview, please watch News Night at 9 p.m. on Monday on all channels television platforms. The Ogun State government and the federal government have emphasized the need for multi-sectoral approach and genuine commitment from all levels of government to significantly reduce avoidable deaths as well as maternal and newborn mortality rates in Nigeria. And this call to action was made during a 5-day workshop on innovative strategies for reducing maternal and newborn mortality, which was held in Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital.
The opening of the 5-day workshop was a well-attended affair. Deputy Governor Noimo Tsalako Yedele, representing her boss, joined a gathering that included the Minister of Health, representatives from development partners, state government officials, and many health practitioners who are invested in this important issue. Driven by the need to accelerate efforts to reduce maternal and newborn mortality, this workshop aims to bring together state officials, development partners, and various government agencies. The goal is to ensure a collaborative approach for achieving effective solutions. The urgency is clear. 2 local government areas in the state are reporting maternal and newborn mortality rates above the national average.
This co-creation workshop is a unique opportunity for us to engage, strategize, and align our efforts with evidence-based solutions that will significantly reduce maternal and newborn death.
Today, our maternal mortality stands as over 500 per every 100,000 live births. And for this reason, we just must crash this in line with the coordinating minister's directive.
In response, the Deputy Governor is urging a collaborative effort between the state, federal, and the other agencies to improve these figures.
I urge all stakeholders, the state healthcare team under the leadership of the Commissioner for Health, Dr. Tony Koga, our healthcare professionals in the private and public sector, development partners, community leaders, and all who are interested in the healthcare of women to fully engage in the co-creation process.
The round of applause is not resounding enough.
Innovation, data, and collaboration. Those were the key points from Coordinating Minister of Health, Professor Ali Mohammed Pate. He called for a sector-wide approach and stressed the need for states to cooperate while ensuring their specific needs are addressed.
Maternal anemia is a strong predictor, really, of maternal complications and death, as well as even child mortality. So addressing those requires a multi-sectoral lens to it. So the transportation, the emergency ambulance scheme is also part of that, because if a woman is not able to come to a facility, that also can be a major issue.
The expectation is that this 5-day workshop will yield tangible results. Participants, including key development partners, are expected to create workable solutions aimed at dramatically reducing maternal and newborn mortality in the states.
Love Culture is a group exhibition of textiles and contemporary art at the Moriri Gallery in Port Harcourt, the River State capital. The show features designs of artist Ebere Ekati, who is really passionate about her craft. We'll see it on Art Review tonight.
The Moriri Art Gallery in Port Harcourt, River State, is a center of attraction once again, as it plays host to art enthusiasts in an exhibition titled Love and Culture. A lot of e-culture fashion designs showcase the artistic craftsmanship from different cultures in the country.
Today we're celebrating Love Culture at Moriri Gallery of Contemporary Art. And for us as textile artists, unlike other artists, you see them drawing on a board or a canvas. But our canvas is the fabric we wear, the textile, the outfits we put on. And that's what we have here. I'm not just drawing on the outfits, but I'm also tailoring the outfits to suit whatever need that arises within Africa. Anything traditional is what goes for me.
The director of the gallery, Mr. Kaudi Adeoti, is excited about the fusion of textile designs and contemporary pieces.
As an artist, what she has done is to use what we wear as an art form of expression. And so what we're talking about today is wearable art. And we believe art can be used to push any human endeavor. And in this case, where you wear the art, you are using that to push and propagate our culture, what we wear. So in essence, Ebere has come up with over 30 pieces, unique pieces by themselves, that will help push that narrative of Nigerians, Africans loving what we create and what we wear.
While another artist is in awe of the array on display.
When you look at these pieces, you're seeing the beauty of art. You're seeing how unique the pieces are. They are what they're expressing art. They're expressing our culture with the strokes, with the lines. They are beautifying our everyday wears, trying to infuse art into what we wear. So it's basically displaying the African fashion and the African art in wearable art. So of course I encourage it.
This show is themed around the Valentine's Day celebration, so there was focus on color, craft, and creativity.
And from art to the world of sports, Nigeria's para-badminton star and world number 2, Eniola Bolaji, has continued her dominance at the Spanish Para-Badminton International 2 in Spain by winning another gold medal earlier today. The Paralympic bronze medalist triumphed over Turkey's Halime Yildiz at 2-0 in the women's final of the Para-Badminton. Bolaji began her campaign by defeating India's Sanjana Kumari at 2-0 in the second round, followed by a 2-0 win over Turkey's Halime Yildiz in the third round, before dispatching Ukrainians Oksana Koiba at 2-0 in the semi-final. She is now the only African player to win 12 gold medals in all internationals played. NPFL League leaders Rema Stars beat Heartland FC 2-0 at the Rema Stadium in Ikenne to move 8 points clear at the top of the league with 9 games left to play. The Sky Blue Stars earned 57 points, coming from 29 league games. Rivers United maintained a very strong hold on the second spot as the Pride of Rivers beat host El Kanemi Warriors 2-1 in the matchday 29 clash. Taufik Otaniye and Samson Obi got the maximum point for the former champions. Nasarawa United held Kano Pillars to a 1-1 draw in Kano. Abia Warriors beat Bendel Insurance 1-0. Relegation strugglers Aqua United picked their 8th win in 29 games thanks to a 2-0 win against Shooting Stars of Ibadan. Bayelsa United edged Lobe Stars, who are still rooted bottom of the league, 1-0, while Ikorodu City fought back to hold Enyimba at a 2-2 draw in Lagos. And Newcastle has ended their 56-year trophy drought in a stunning style as Dan Burn and Alexander Isak sealed a 2-1 win against Liverpool in the League Cup final played at Wembley earlier this evening. Eddie Howe's side made history at Wembley with a superb display that left the runaway Premier League leaders shell-shocked as they held on for their first major silverware since 1969 Intercity's first cup. And now that success in the predecessor to the Europa League is a relic of a bygone era. But this long-awaited triumph will be forever etched in the memories of the Newcastle fans who turned one half of Wembley into a roiling sea of black and white with their ecstatic celebration. It was also Newcastle's first major domestic prize, dating back 70 years to the 1955 FA Cup. Mikel Merino's first half header was enough to settle Arsenal's 1-0 win over Chelsea in a very feisty and tense Super Sunday London derby. The Blues remain in fourth for now, just a point above Manchester City in fifth and 2 points above Newcastle United, who have a game in hand. Fulham strengthening their own bid for a European place by beating Tottenham 2-0 at home for a second consecutive season, and that's the first time they have achieved that in 19 years. Victory moves Fulham up to 8th in the standings and just 4 points adrift of 4th placed Chelsea, while Tottenham remain 13th position. Away from sports now, outside our shores still, at least 59 people have died and more than 155 others injured in a nightclub fire in North Macedonia. The blaze broke out around 2:30 a.m. local time at the Pulse Club in Kokani, which is a town around 100 kilometers east of the capital, where 1,500 people were attending a concert by DNK, which is a popular hip-hop duo in the country. Prime Minister Christian Mikoski has called it a very difficult and sad day, but for the country, which had lost many young lives. Arrest warrants have been issued for 4 people. Interior Minister Pans Tokovsky says that without giving any details, he says that the arrest of a man earlier, and a state news agency MIA also said the club owner has been detained.